Members, good morning. This is the appointed time. We have a quorum. So we now start the meeting of the panel on development and will elect chairman for the 2026 session. Now, the Secretariat has informed members that at the end of the nomination period, only one valid nomination has been received. The member so nominated is Mr. Andrew Lam. He's nominated by Mr. Ben Chan, seconded by Mr. Michael Lee. Mr. Andrew Lam is not chair or deputy chair of any other committee or panel, nor is he chair or deputy chair of any government advisory bodies. According to the requirements in the Rules of Procedure and the House Rules, I declare that Mr. Andrew Lam is returned chair of the panel on development for the 2026 session. Please come forward, Mr. Lam. Thank you, members. We now move on to the election of Deputy Chair for the Panel on Development for 2026 session. The Secretariat has issued a notice to inform members that at the end of the nomination period for the Deputy Chair, only one valid nomination has been received. The member so nominated is Mr. Kenneth Lau, who is nominated by Ms. Michelle Tang and seconded by Mr. Aaron Bok. As Mr. Kenneth Lau is not chair or deputy chair of any other committee or panel, nor is he chair or deputy chair of any relevant government advisory bodies according to the requirements in the Rules of Procedures and the House Rules, I declare that Mr. Kenneth Lau is returned deputy chair of the panel on development for the 2026 session. Item 2. Schedule of meetings for the 2026 session. In the 2025 session, the panel usually held regular meetings at 2:30 on the fourth Tuesday of each month. So, subject to any objection from members, please refer to the proposed schedule of meetings for the 2026 session as tabled. Now, I'd like to draw members' attention to the following. On the requests of the administration, the February regular meeting will be rescheduled to 2:30 p.m. on the 11th of February, Wednesday. Next, as the fourth Tuesday of July falls within the summer recess of this Council, the July regular meeting will be rescheduled to 2:30 in the afternoon, Tuesday on the 14th of July. Third point, as the fourth Tuesday of December this year will be winter solstice, the December regular meeting will be rescheduled to 2:30 p.m. Tuesday on the 15th of December. Next, items for discussion at the next meeting. Policy briefing. Now, the policy briefing for panel members will help members understand fully the government's governing tenet. So the Secretary for Development will hold 2 briefing sessions for the panel, one between 3 and 4:30 p.m. Friday, the 29th of January, and the other 4:30 and 6 p.m. between 4:30 and 6 p.m. the same date to brief members on the relevant policy bureau. Policy portfolio. The next regular meeting of the panel will be held at 2:30 p.m. on the 11th of February. The administration has proposed to discuss 2 items. First, flexibly deploy land development strategy to streamline procedures on land control. And second, Capital Works Reserve Fund block allocation for 2026-2027. Do members agree? Right, if there are no comments, we now move on to items for discussion at future meetings. Members are free to make suggestions, and please press the button and indicate your wish to speak. I need to check how many of you would like to speak first. I see 10 members so far. It's now 5 minutes past 10. I'd like to give each member around 1.5 minutes to speak. And if time permits, I may allow a second round. Let's start with Mr. Vincent Chang. Thank you, Chairman. Congratulations. I would like to discuss a number of topics. First, about the waterfront, the boardwalk has just been commissioned. I'd like the administration to brief us on the waterfront promenades along in Hong Kong and Kowloon, and also about this waterfront site at Hong Kong to be used as a marina. I'd like to discuss that as well. The next item is about relaxing the rules on public open space. Now, the Operation Building Bright 2.0 is in force. We're concerned about repair and maintenance of old buildings. Urban renewal. The Nowla project in Yau Ching Mong has just begun, and we earlier conducted a study in Yau Ching Mong and in Kowloon City, and we'd like to take forward this study in Tsuen Wan as well. Right, noted. Next, Mr. Michael Lee. Thank you, Chair. A number of suggestions about the enhanced smart tender of the Urban Renewal Authority. I want to make sure that the enhanced version will cater for the current needs of society. Second, Northern Metropolis. The development will definitely affect brownfield operations as well as the A&F sector. I want to make sure that there is a balance, and we can also discuss the large-scale land disposal approach as well. I hope these items will be included in the list for further discussion by this panel. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Right. They'll be put on the list. Next, Ms. Maggie Chan. Thank you, Chair. 4 suggestions. First, Northern Metropolis. Expediting dedicated legislation on data flow in the Northern Metropolis. I'd like the administration to brief us on the progress here as quickly as possible. Now, the Northern Metropolis is a huge project. It involves cross-boundary collaboration, dovetailing with the 15th five-year plan, facilities, as well as legislation, etc. I'd like to know how we divide work among the panels. Next, about supporting SMEs and micro-enterprises in promoting local brands and developing e-commerce to drive industrial development. So I want a discussion on support for SMEs on upgrading and transformation and tapping business opportunities. Third, construction, innovation, technology. I understand there is a fund set up. And Chairman, I understand that this fund will be discussed. I mean, the Capital Works Reserve Fund will be discussed as well. I hope this will be included in our discussion as well. Next, about the government's control and monitoring of project costs. I hope there'll be a discussion on central procurement in terms of the relevant procedures, the vetting process. Thank you, Ms. Chen. Let me remind members, you mentioned cross-boundary e-commerce and support for SMEs. Well, I think these matters should be discussed at the Commerce and Industry or Economic Development panel instead. Now, Northern Metropolis, this is a very wide topic covering all trades and sectors. So if you want to discuss specifically industrial policies, maybe that topic should be discussed at the other panel as well. Still, we can explore whether a joint meeting can be held with the other panel. About dedicated legislation on Northern Metropolis, as announced by the government, this will be floated in the second half of this year for discussion. But before that, let me check with the administration if they will brief individual panels on different aspects of the legislation. Public Works cost control. Yes, I understand this is an issue of concern. In fact, a subcommittee was set up in the last session to discuss this specific issue. So please refer to the previous discussions. The subcommittee has provided a report on the deliberations. Mr. Kenneth Fok. Yes, writing on what Ms. Maggie Chen said about the importance of Northern Metropolis, I don't think we need to discuss any further. We all understand the importance and how extensive the Northern Metropolis project is. And together with other G19 members yesterday, I wrote to the Secretariat. I hope that a subcommittee on Northern Metropolis development could be set up under the House Committee. In fact, the same subcommittee was set up in the last term. We want to carry on with the discussion, and I urge members to support my idea so that for this session we can set up the same subcommittee to discuss this important issue. I've asked the chair of House Committee, and as I understand, he would like to first hear from members of panels on different ideas of setting up subcommittees first. Now, Northern Metropolis is an urgent issue. So if we have some specific issues, perhaps we can have a separate discussion at the panel level. The next point is about Wangford Court fire. This is an issue close to the heart of members, and we'd like to have discussions here as quickly as possible. But according to the legislative program provided by the government, I don't see anything relating to the smoking ban on construction sites as previously mentioned. Now, I don't know whether this relates to the amendments to the building management ordinance in the second half of the year. Right, about the smoking ban on construction sites. In fact, the Labour and Welfare Bureau already remarked on this matter in the previous meeting. I believe they will submit the proposal very soon. For the Wangford Court fire, the government will need to consider other relevant legislation as well. But as I understand, in the second half of this year, definitely, the topic has been included in the legislative program. Mr. Aaron Bok. Thank you, Chair. My first question is about aged infrastructure, especially those above the age of 50, like old bridges, roads, tunnels. Every now and then, we need to conduct large-scale maintenance to make sure that these infrastructure facilities won't fail. So I want to know whether the administration will deploy resources on R&R of the infrastructure facilities. Second question, water seepage. There is quite a high water seepage rate of, or water seepage from mains, up to 10 to 20%. I want to know whether the government has any strategy on rehabilitation of water mains. Third point, Northern Metropolis. I know that this is a focus, but other than the Northern Metropolis, there are also other projects ready to start, but there are resource implications. I want to know whether the government will deploy resources to commence these projects. The next point is about the facilitator mindset to enhance efficiency. Right, noted. Next, Ms. Jody Kwok. Congratulations, Chairman. I want to cover a lot of topics, but because of time, I'd like to first raise 4 points for future discussion by this panel. First, urban renewal, transfer of plot ratio, especially for Tsuen Wan. How can we increase plot ratio to add value to the district? The second point is a continuous waterfront promenade. $6.5 billion have been set aside to build the Round the Island Trail, which will be fully connected up to 90% by 2028. My question is on Tsuen Wan section and how we enhance accessibility of the waterfront promenade. Third point, Operation Building Bright, building maintenance subsidy scheme, amendments to CAP 123, building management ordinance. And there are concerns about dilapidated and unrepaired buildings, construction site safety. These are issues of concern. The fourth suggestion is about design of elderly-friendly housing, as discussed at the council meeting. Barrier-free access, sense of happiness, and also Gyrant technology. So I'd like to discuss the implementation details.
Thank you, Ms. Kok. Mr. Lau Ka-keung. Thank you, Chair. I want to discuss the following issues. One, the Northern Metropolis as a medium and long-term core development strategy of Hong Kong. It is very important for us to expedite the development of the Northern Metropolis and make sure we take forward implementation effectively. We need to relax the restrictions and simplify the approval procedures, as well as enhance interdepartmental coordination. We need to make sure the development of Northern Metropolis meets the needs of society in future. I am also concerned about talent training. I am very confident about the development of the education industry in Hong Kong to support the development of innovation and technology and economy. We need to make sure we take forward the construction of the university town in the Northern Metropolis to create favorable foundations for the long-term development of talents in Hong Kong. I also want to discuss the issue of reforms of smart tender scheme to make use of AI to enhance regulatory efficiency and accuracy, to reform issues in building maintenance, to make use of AI to set up a surveillance system to detect price control or any malicious behavior, to help owners corporations with tendering and enhance transparency. Due to time constraints, I would want to ask members not to repeat some of the points that other members have made. Thank you. Mr. Chang Ho-feng. Thank you, Chair. I want to discuss the maintenance of H pipes, especially for the 8,400 kilometers of water pipes, freshwater or saltwater. Otherwise, we do not have many of them being monitored in real time. So I want to ask the Development Bureau's plans and progress on installing the real-time sensors. I also want to ask about the latest development progress of the Southern Lantau Ecological Corridor. We have received the expressions of interest. I want to know what people are thinking. In Tuen Mun, we have two railways, one from Hong Shui Kiu via Siu Lam, and we have another one from Siu Lam to Sunny Bay. Where are we on the study progress? And we previously discussed the study in the panel on development, so we should follow up on this. About the revitalization of channels, I want to again know about the latest progress of a study. I also want to ask about the progress of a study on Sunny Bay reclamation. We have been advocating for a racetrack to be constructed there, so I want to ask about the latest progress of the study. Thank you. Dr. Chen Hanpen. Hello? Thank you, Chair. As we are in that part of the economic cycle where we see a decline in the number of projects in the public and private sectors, it really hurts the employment of the engineering and construction sector as well as graduates. I want to ask if there will be policy support for the sectors to tide over the difficulties. I think there's also room for improvement for the Hong Kong planning standards and guidelines, including the provision of parking spaces and other facilities. I hope that we can discuss this issue. For many remote villages, they have a shortage of facilities. Will the government have any plans to help rural villages in the provision of facilities? We also have the Office on Tackling Water Seepage that would involve the Development Bureau. Perhaps we can work with the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene to talk about reforms to be made to the office. Thank you. Ms. Christine Fong. Thank you, Chair. I support flexible land policy, including solutions to resolve the issue of the shortage of parking spaces. I also think we can revitalize some land, including having more greening to boost tourism and economy. We can also have green ecotourism. I'm also inclined to talk about how we can revitalize the harborfront and mangroves so that we can have designs that would boost happiness of citizens. Thank you. Mr. Holden Chow, thank you, Chair. In Area 16 in Tuen Mun, the public cargo area will be moved. So we have some spare land. We had plans for it to be used as an open space, but we have heard some feedback from citizens to see if we can make use of the area to boost local economy. So I think we can discuss this issue at an appropriate time in a panel on development meeting. The alteration works for the NOLA in Yuen Long are being undertaken, so I hope that when there is progress, we can receive a report from the government. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chow, Julia Lau. Chairman, I want to suggest reviewing how we can better make use of public money and public resources in public works projects, infrastructure projects in general. I'm raising this because many of the professionals said the noise barriers are getting bigger and bigger, and it also involves a large budget. We need to consider whether this is necessary. Right now, there is no audit mechanism in this area. So right now, they are just going on their own without proper surveillance. So I think we can discuss this issue. I also want to ask if the government has a blueprint to promote smart village tourism, including having in place some guest houses and other facilities. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lau. Mr. Tam Chun Kwok. Thank you. The Development Bureau has many updates in relation to the development of the Northern Metropolis. Recently, we now have a tendering that is about to begin, and the Hong Shou Kir Industrial Park Company will be set up. I hope that we can discuss the relevant topics at a panel on development meeting about the development of the university town. I also want to hear from the government their briefing on this item. Thank you. Mr. Yu Ming. We have much space to develop in the new territories. I think we can really try to revitalize the village-type development zone as well as other green land so that we can make good use of the land. Right now, we have many right-of-way disputes in the new territories. Before, we did not have many people walking the roads, but now, as we see more vehicular flow in rural areas, there is some right-of-way dispute. So I hope that we can discuss this issue because there is much development potential in the new territories. Thank you. Mr. Kenneth Lau. Thank you, Chair. The Northern Metropolis spans 30,000 hectares. That is suitable for living, industries, and tourism. Right now, the government seems to have their plans focus on Sandton. In fact, the other parts of northeastern New Territories are very suitable for tourism and cultural and recreational development. If the government does not talk about this, if we do not make changes to outline zoning plans, the development potential would take long to tap into. And for Moose Bay and Yim Tin, we have much infrastructure prepared, piers or maybe even boundary control points, practicing collaborative inspection mode. I think the government can really discuss this. Due to time constraints, I'll draw the line here. If you have not raised the item for discussion at this meeting, please write to the Secretary as soon as possible. The Deputy Chairman and I will meet with the government to discuss the work plan for this session. We will discuss the suggestions made by members. So if you have a suggestion that you have not made earlier, please write to the Secretary as soon as possible. The chairman of the House Committee at last week's meeting of the House Committee briefed members on the basic principles on the setting up of policy subcommittees under the House Committee and panels. The House Committee has agreed that after receiving all suggestions for forming subcommittees, it will consider the order for forming subcommittees comprehensively. If members think there is a need to set up a policy subcommittee under the panel to study certain matters, please submit your written suggestion to the Secretary before 5 p.m. on 6th of February, Friday, and you would have to include the terms of reference, the timetable, and work plan, and other relevant information. Please note that the maximum number of members in each policy subcommittee is 20, and more than half of the members of the panel would have to join the policy subcommittee. Non-panel members can also join, but the number cannot exceed the number of panel members in the subcommittee. We're moving on to the next agenda item, any other business? And any other business? If not, meeting adjourned. Thank you.